Hello, Houston. It's Kim Castro. We are live at the Houston Food Bank, and I'm here with the president and CEO, Brian Greene, and we're talking about the Backpack Buddy program. Now, we have the privilege of being in your facility, so I'm going to let you take the reins and walk us around.
Yeah, Kim, I've always been wanting to give you a tour of this place, so now is a good chance to do it. So first, let's get out of the lobby.
Let's get out of the lobby. Where are we headed to now?
Well, we're going to walk onto the dock.
What happens in the dock?
Well, right now we're doing unloading as we pull in a lot of trucks overnight. So we actually run pretty late into the night every day. We run 7 days a week here. And so pulling product off and actually starting to load for some of the loads for tomorrow. We do about 14 to 15 tractor trailer loads worth of food per day, 6 days a week of actual distribution. But
Smells like produce.
Yeah, but in order to do that, we run between 60 and 70 trucks and truck routes each day. And so these guys have a lot of work to get done before the night is over.
I see a big batch of watermelon, which makes me excited. Hydration in the summer heat.
Yeah, these are what they call number twos. You see how you see the little too much yellow or whatever? There's nothing wrong with these watermelons. They're just what's not called retail beautiful. So we're able to get them donated. What we do is we pay the farmer to pick it and then put it in these bins for us, so they're not going to lose money to do that part. But these are donated watermelons.
Don't judge a book by its cover. I'm sure they're very delicious.
On the inside, everything works.
Amazing. And is that the same with a lot of the produce that gets donated here?
Yeah, the largest reason why we get produce, and we get about 7 tractor trailer loads of produce a day, and the vast majority of it are what they call ugly produce, where it's perfectly good, it's just as fresh, it just doesn't look as good.
We don't care what it looks like. Americans are very picky. Amazing. So lots of honking, making sure safety first. There's a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, this is a very busy place during the day, but that's the fun thing is like you can come here at 11 o'clock at night and it's still happening. There's people working. And you can see down these aisles, you just got all this product that's come in. Of course, right now we're still recovering from Beryl. We're still doing a little extra distribution work for the households that were impacted. You know, with so many households, they do not have $400 they can call it upon an emergency. So even if the only impact was that they weren't working that 1 week because their place of business was shut down, that can be quite devastating, and it can take many weeks for them to recover from that. So we're still assisting many of those households while we're doing our regular work.
Wow. So I see all the trucks that are parked out front. Who all do you serve? I mean, how many organizations, how many thousands, millions of people do you serve?
Yeah. So Houston Food Bank works with about 1,600 different partners. And then we have our affiliate food banks, Galveston County Food Bank, Montgomery County Food Bank, and Brazos Valley Food Bank that we partner with as well. And then from a people standpoint, we serve about 800,000 people a year.
Wow.
We try and all the families that are food insecure, where they just don't have enough resources to have a consistent, healthy diet and pay the rent and pay the utility bills, we try and help them. These are overwhelmingly working households. 2/3 of the food insecure households have an adult who works. They're just not making enough money.
Wow, so this is the hand up kind of help, little reassurance that they need with the food.
Yeah, trying to help them make ends meet is kind of our prime target group. Then of course we have other programs that have more specific purposes, like our food scholarship program where we work with community colleges and universities, our food prescription program, we work with clinics and hospital systems, and of course the Backpack Buddy program.
The Backpack Buddy program.
KHOU on.
Yeah, okay, this is amazing. I know there's another section where the volunteers work. Can we check that out?
Yeah, we can go ahead to the volunteer section. Let's see, we'll walk this way.
Okay. Wow.
So we will.
Ooh, look at that, there's some bubbly. I love a little fizzy water.
Yeah, so food banks, our resource is surplus. And in the early days in food banking, it was like, oh, that's what we mostly got. Is like, oh, the items from the supermarkets that didn't sell well enough, and so they got stuck with it. And you can see see this water here, that was actually deliberately.
Ever seen that?
No, but you see how it's a Molson Coors?
Yeah.
That's because they deliberately, in order to help us with the hurricane, they used their plant to can water just like they would normally can beer.
Amazing. Okay. Wow. And then we've got, what else we have here? Some more water. Water. Okay, what do we have up here? Pokey. Are these like little pokey sticks? No, these are more
No, that's a
drinks.
drink.
Okay. Very cool. There's a ton. And these are things, like you said, that you typically find in a grocery store, really.
Well, yeah, actually, if you walk through our inventory at any given time, it's kind of like if you closed your eyes and you started knocking things off the shelves.
Okay.
So, and just like a supermarket,
Yes.
most of what we have is what they call the perimeter of the store. It's the perishable items, it's the dairy, the produce, the meats, etc. That's most of our distribution. But then you also go to the center of the store, and that's the aisle that we're walking down now, kind of represents that.
The fun stuff.
Yeah, more of what you could say the fun stuff.
You can see my eyes are wandering. I'm getting hungry walking around here.
Then we're walking over to where the volunteer section is here.
And I see supplies like diapers.
Oh yeah. So a lot of people think that we only distribute food. The way we see our work is like these households who are struggling, they're struggling because of finances. Food insecurity isn't really about food. Food insecurity is about income. They're not making enough income to consistently get by. So anything we can do to save them money, we want to do. So if we can get diapers or paper towels or toothpaste, we want to do it.
Fantastic. And are these organizing bins? So we just stepped into the volunteer headquarters, I would say, their workstation. What goes on here?
Yeah, so this is where we sort the damaged goods from the supermarkets. So like you can see, like this has got, been dented, the box itself. Well, so this whole thing is no longer something the store wants. Because somebody would see this, the box is dented, I want the fresh looking box. And so they're going to reject it. So what the store does is they send it to what's called a reclamation center where it gets scanned by the UPC and then the store gets credit back from the manufacturer. Now the manufacturer, in this case Bush's Beans, they own it, but they don't want it either. So they instruct the reclamation center to donate to us. We send our trucks out, we go pick it up, but then we've got to go make sure that it truly is safe to eat. So our volunteers go by these Food and Drug Administration established standards, and we inspect all the products, sanitize what needs to be sanitized, categorize it, box it, weigh it, stamp it, make it ready for distribution.
Wow.
This particular room is designed to be flexible where you can work with 20 volunteers all the way up to over 300 volunteers with no loss of productivity per person.
I don't know about you, but I feel like this is safer and better to eat. I mean, I feel like it goes through so many more checks than say the normal pretty box that you might just pick up at the grocery store. This one goes through a lot of checks and balances.
Well, it is a lot of extra work, which is why it's so nice that most of our work is free. This is what enables us to say yes, because we can kind of throw labor at problems that the food industry is not designed to handle. So like stuff like this, it's around 75% or so actually is perfectly fine. But for them to go through that extra work, it's not worth it. They're not going to do it. We will, because we got these volunteers. So doing this work, on average, the output dollar value per person per hour is over $75. That's the wholesale value per hour of productivity per volunteer in this room. So for most people,
Wow.
if you were to say, hey, I want to help the food bank, should I donate half a day's wages or should I come work for half a day? The community on average would be better off if you just worked for us a half a day.
Wow.
We won't pay you, but you'll get a lot done.
Wow. Hey, if you've been looking for a place to volunteer, this is the place where you can really stretch out your impact because your time is really what helps the most, like you just said. Very cool.
Yeah, and our team tries to make it like a party.
Yeah.
When we've got volunteer groups in this room, like the music is pumping, you got your friends around with you.
I've been hearing the music.
Have a good time while you're helping the community. That's the way we try and run it.
It's a fun time. Okay, can we go look at
Yeah.
a couple more stuff? I just like to see what's in these boxes because, I mean, it really is anything and everything your heart would desire.
Yeah, you can see that we categorize, the first step is they categorize into raw categories. And then over here is when they actually box it into the final categories to make it ready. So this is actually a 4-stage process that the volunteers work in.
Okay, what's stage 1? Is this stage 1?
No, stage 1 is actually the room behind there,
Okay.
where the volunteers are actually loading the new boxes onto the carriers,
Okay.
and then it goes to what we call first sort, which would be the second stage, and those are the inspectors. Those are the ones that are doing the good and bad, going by the standards. So it's kind of the most exacting job.
Okay.
Then it goes over here to what we call second sort, but that's where they're actually boxing it, and then it goes out there where they then palletize the final product.
Oh, very nice. How long? Let's say, we had our can of beans that we looked at right over there. That arrives today. How long for it to be packaged and ready to go?
Well, it depends. We flip our inventory on average about 12 times a year.
Okay.
Now, this building used to be a Cisco. Now, we had to heavily modify it to make it work for us.
Yeah.
You're standing in what was just warehouse for them. But anyway, when it was Cisco, heck, if they had 12 turns a year, they go broke. It's got to be very fast. But in our case, we don't get to choose how much we get.
Yeah.
So if they say, hey, we've got 6 tractor trailer loads of something, food bank, you want it? We say yes.
Yeah.
And then we'll move it out as we do it. Plus, we so often have to put work into it.
Sure.
So on average, if that can of beans was average, it would take like 1 month be in and then out, depending on we did whatever processing.
Awesome.
By the way, it's on this carrier. If it actually made its way around this carrier, this whole thing takes about 30 minutes to wind through.
Okay.
But when it actually comes out and goes on there, it actually makes it way out the door much quicker than that, because the volunteers work it here, they work it there, and it's gone.
That's really all the volunteers. How many volunteers do you have?
The year we just completed, we had 94,000 unduplicated volunteers here.
Wow, 94,000 individual people, non-duplicate. I'm guessing that's what that means.
Yeah, unduplicated, yeah, individuals. So it's kind of what's our specialty. This is why this is the largest output food bank in the U.S., is because our volunteer corps is so huge. Mm-hmm. We're able to say yes to more challenges than any other food bank, because Houston is this has become kind of a thing to do. It's an experience like, are you truly a Houstonian if you haven't done this at least once?
No, clearly not. And I like how there's a little parameter here. So the cans with just maybe a couple dents, those are just fine. But if we see something like that, then the volunteers know.
Yeah, it's the severity and the location.
Okay.
You want to avoid the tops of the cans, and you want to be just like that light where it's a smooth indentation.
Right.
Once it's to the point of a crease where it folds or it gets to a point,
Yeah.
that's when it's probably safe.
Okay.
But that's not good enough. We got to know that it's safe. 100% safety on this, because we're distributing millions and millions of pounds,
Right.
and so if you were even a tiny % chance of risk,
Right.
it's going to catch up to you.
It's a big responsibility. So you take it as such. Okay, wow, so many different. Now, are these filled up, or are these getting ready, getting prepped?
Well, what they do is like at the end of the shift. So this was the 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock shift here, and so whatever's point they were, that's when they just go ahead and stop. So this is going to be a mixture. Some of these will have products still in it,
Okay.
and so when the next shift comes in, they'll just finish loading that box or that crate before it goes onto the carrier.
So what's the volunteer shift schedule? Like, let's say I work a 9 to 5 job. Am I able to volunteer at some point?
Yeah, lots of points. So we actually have volunteer shifts 7 days a week. Monday through Fridays, we run 3 shifts a day. We run 8 to 12, 1 to 4, and 6 to 8, 8:30, I think.
Wow.
And then on Saturday, we run 2 shifts, a morning and an afternoon shift. And on Sunday, actually now Sundays we're doing 2 shifts as well. We just opened up the second shift on Sundays, and it's turned out to be a lot more popular than I thought it would.
That's so exciting, and I'm sure.
So there's no excuse.
Literally.
Yeah, if you're not volunteering here, there's something wrong.
There's something wrong. How is there a time criteria or a time commitment that a volunteer has to invest?
Yeah, we do. We request a full shift because.
That's it.
Yeah. So we've tried to simplify the orientation and training process. Our goal is to have you from start of shift. You walked in the door. If you walked in right on time, to start productively working 30 minutes. That's our goal.
Okay.
But still, if you were only going to stay for 45 minutes, that wasn't worth it.
No.
So, just a shift, which is the shorter shifts are 3 hours or 2.5 hours.
Very, very doable. I'm sure it flies by. Also, with all the fun people that you're in there with, all with the same common goal. Speaking of goals, we're making our way back around to our station, our Backpack Buddy station. So that's a big goal of ours, right? Talk to me about Backpack Buddy, when it got started, and what the intent was behind it.
So the backpacks, the whole idea started when it was actually a food bank in Georgia noticed like 2 kids had broken into their facility, and they would have gotten away with it, except the kids were actually sitting there eating. And then they realized, oh my God, what's going on here? And then just came the idea, well, what can we do about that? And so we started this in Houston and just reached out to the schools and said, look, if you've got a child that you don't think is eating consistently on the weekends, we think we can help. And we just worked out the logistics over time, and we've managed to grow it into be really quite a massive program where we're working with about 700 schools at a time each week, throughout the school year.
Incredible. So let's go to the backpacks, which I love this program because of, first of all, what it provides, but also how it's done. So something that you guys have taught me is that the teacher identifies, first and foremost, if there's a student that has that particular need where they might go home and they might not have a nutritious meal, correct?
Yeah, so it's not a food insecurity program. It's not for most of the kids. Now, bear in mind that the vast majority of the kids that we're serving, these are food insecure kids, okay? And so we have like our pantry program, we have the school markets, we do the mobile pantries, we have a lot of vehicles to try and get resources to that household so that the kids are able to eat and eat nutritious. The backpack is kind of, I hate to say it this way, but it's kind of the worst of the worst cases. Usually when a household is food insecure, they're having to make nutritional compromises, and that's a bad thing, especially with kids when you're building your bodies. We're just trying to, what can we do to help them supplement to get by? In some cases, they actually have to go hungry. Overwhelmingly, when the household has to go hungry, it's the parents who go hungry. The Census Bureau does these studies. When we do interviews with the households, we get the exact same results. It's only when it's really, really bad that the kids. But it's about 1% of kids. Small percentage, but it's a tragic percentage because you don't want kids actually flat out not eating. And the worst times are summer and weekends, because you have the school lunch and breakfast program for the weekdays, so at least there's 2 meals covered. So this is a weekend supply for the kids if the teacher says, I don't think that child is eating consistently on the weekends. It averages around 25 or so kids per school. So like when you think about a school population, Houston schools are pretty big. It's a pretty small group, but it's kind of like, wow, that's a group that we really, really got to help. So this is for us, it's a kind of a tough program because it's nutritionally complete, shelf-stable, kid-friendly, and as you can see, walking through our random inventory, you can't get all of that in there, so we actually do buy about half the products that go in there, so it makes it a little more expensive.
Expensive, but well worth it. White chicken, premium white chicken.
Yeah, premium.
Premium, don't forget the premium. Tuna, natural. Apples, peas, milk.
Corn.
Little oat bars. I mean, the gamut of delicious, nutritious food. And what I really enjoy about the program, you were explaining to me, I think it was last year, that it's discreet. So even though this is a select group of students, they're not selected. They're not singled out. So, maybe at the end of their school day, they'll go to the library, they'll, open up their backpack, and the librarian, the teacher, whoever it is, just drops the bag, and they're on their merry way. Nothing's labeled, nothing says food bank, nothing says Backpack Buddy program.
Yeah, so in the early days, we were thinking we needed to provide the backpacks. The reality is all kids have backpacks. The second thing we learned very quickly is, well, we don't want to give them backpacks anyway because we don't want to stigmatize them. So it's all a bag. And then it goes into their backpack.
Right.
That's how it actually works.
That's just fantastic. One of the programs at the Houston Food Bank, you heard it, more than 800,000 people that benefit from the Houston Food Bank per year.
Yes.
and there's no excuse not to volunteer.
That is the biggest thing you can do to help us.
Volunteer your time, and if you can, donate to the causes too.
Yeah, because ultimately it takes money to make this work, but there's so much of the things that we can do. It's the labor that makes it the difference of why we can say yes.